This week we have been thinking about opinions and views, what a powerful influence that is, that we cling so strongly to views. We cling so much to our opinions. We get so sensitive about our opinions, and if somebody doesn't agree with or like our opinion or our idea, how we're even more delicate and sensitive about that than we are about food for the body or being warm and dry or uncomfortable. It's amazing, isn't it? Even this morning, I was glancing ahead at the sutta that we're going to look at this afternoon, Alagadupama Sutta, in particular in connection with views. A person who's wise would meditate on the five aggregates. That's this form, the body, the feelings, perceptions, and then the intentions, the volitions, or you could say the fabrications of the mind, the creations that we create and that we imagine. In this particular sutta, instead of referencing to consciousness, the Buddha mentions whatever is seen, heard, thought, known, sought, or explored by the mind. This is so helpful. You know, the five aggregates are kind of like what we, in Buddhism, we learn to see how a person might think of the whole package of the five aggregates as being who I am, what I am. This is myself. I'm this conscious being who has a body, who's alive and who has these experiences through the senses and so on. And then when it comes to the last of the aggregates, the vijnana, or the consciousness, the Buddha is mentioning, instead of mentioning vijnana in this particular line in this sutta, he references to the objects of consciousness, what is seen and what is heard. And so then the mind recognizes objects, whether it's an external object like the wonderful friends that I see on the small screen, or whether it's the chair. If I look at my own part of my body as being separated from myself, that it's just a body, like it's just a piece of meat or something like that, I make it into an object and I see it. So I can see my hand, I can see my face in the mirror. So then the way to know the mind is when we have a chance to just look ever so closely and see, like, what happens when the mind connects to that object. But the main part of this teaching is making the contrast between whoever is making all of these things that can be experienced into a self, into something that is assumed to be me or mine or myself, something identified with. And that's the basis of dukkha and the basis of quarrels. But then if they see it rightly with wisdom, as this is not me, this is not mine, this is not myself, that's the meditation. So in the guided meditation, I was trying to just suggest whatever you can experience in meditation, it's not reliable. Don't depend on it. It's not permanent. It's not a self. It's not what you're able to stand on. And then from that emptiness, that's where wisdom comes along. In this particular sutta, it's just one paragraph, but it's so interesting. After mentioning the five khandhas and describing consciousness in a kind of a unique way as being the whole process of cognizing what the mind does, the knowing mind, which is experiencing objects, knowing the objects, having the mind looking towards, directing the consciousness towards the object, exploring the object, and so on. Then he comes to an idea. The Buddha mentions just this one idea, that the self and the cosmos are one and the same. After death, I will be permanent, everlasting, eternal, imperishable, and will last forever and ever. And to see this idea as, this is not mine, I am not this is not myself. We can so easily see, if we look at religious people, how widespread, common, and perhaps normal, maybe even universal it might be for human beings to imagine this life after death, this eternal life, and to actually build their whole body, their whole lives around this vision that after death, I'm going to be with God in heaven, or I'm going to be with Jesus, or I'm going to be with my family in heaven forever and ever and ever in that blissful state. How the human being, so naturally, we kind of comfort ourselves because there's so much disappointment in life. Nothing is reliable. We can't rely on people. We can't rely on things. We can't rely on our very own body. We can't rely on our own mind. We can't rely on anything. And so the mind naturally turns towards finding something else to rely on. We may think that, well, we're Buddhists, so we don't have those kind of notions about eternal life. However, it could be that at some level, there's something floating in our stream of consciousness that wants to go there. If we get a glimpse, or if we see that the mind is longing for heaven, not to put a blame on it, just to say, well, it's only an idea. That idea is not me, not mine, not myself. That idea is just something that arose because of causes and conditions. We can not cling to that idea and not be disturbed by that idea and not depend on that idea. I realized that along the way, this radical uncertainty of not depending on anything, of not having a ground to stand on, is difficult to hold. And I know that as a trainee in this path of the Dhamma, I do depend on the Dhamma. I depend on the Blessed One. I depend on the teachings. I depend on the existence of awakening among actual human beings, that the Sangha, the community of practice, has the potential to wake up. If at times if my equanimity wobbles when seeing the impermanent, changing, unsatisfactory nature of everything, if it causes the mind to feel a disturbance, then I say, Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. To the Buddha, I go for refuge. To the Dhamma, I go for refuge. To the Sangha, I go for refuge. And with that, I'm able to kind of like find my safe space, to find the field of thought where I'm able to return to equanimity, return to calm, return to a kind of a spaciousness, and to have some kind of actually a ground where the mind is able to hold on to all the uncertainty and unpredictability and disappointment that one could have with everything. It may be then at the end, we might even give up taking refuge in the Triple Gem when we're really finished. when we're really done, we won't actually need to have that refuge. But when we're not yet cooked, not yet finished, still have the potential for the heart to sometimes be disturbed or reactive, then that taking refuge, or even in much more detail, having really going into the path of practice. That's an aspect of the Dhamma, and really taking refuge in staying on the path. That this is the safety zone that gives us the ability to face whatever's happening in this world. I heard about, since the last time we talked, I heard about two more friends here in Sonoma County who are either gravely ill and near the end of life, or gravely ill and uncertain as to their survival. So this turning the page of the life of a being, turning the page of a life of a friend, seeing a world that previously had a constellation of such dear people, like the stars in the sky, makes a constellation, and we're sort of held together, and it's like a basket, it's our safe basket, is the constellation, the human constellation around us. And then just acknowledging, knowing it's always changing, it's unreliable, we got to let go. So this is on our mind. We can see the disturbance in nature due to climate change. We can see the accelerating disasters that are falling on human beings in the world. We can even see the escalating social problems as far as our politics and our economy and so forth, becoming more and more distressed and disturbed, all as part of just the page is turning. We thought we had one could have thought that there was a certain safety net of being in a certain kind of a society, in a certain kind of a world, with a certain kind of a weather, with certain kinds of crops, certain kinds of food, certain kinds of, everything. All of it is uncertain. But when we see it, when we let go, then we've got this wonderful opportunity for peace. Even the disasters, whatever disaster we encounter, and it's not the first time in the world that humans have met disasters. Disasters have been going on forever. But when it's my disaster, when it comes to me, then I got a chance to really realize it and really let go. Then I have the potential to realize very profound kind of peace of not depending on that or not depending on anything. This is my Dhamma reflection for this morning. I hope it's not too much of a downer. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.